You are really lucky, my friends, and the reason you are so lucky is because you have basically an online microscope that you can use to prep for every single histology lab that we are going to do in this class. I will always try to remember to link the specific location of our topic in this site when we're dealing with histology so that you can go and practice. You do have to use your brain, which is a good thing because I'm always a fan of using your brain, and connect. You know, that's not the lab that we're going to do. That is a medical school histology class. Like all they're doing is studying histology, nothing else. Our class is anatomy that includes histology and gross anatomy, but every single lab has information on it about what we're going to be looking at. So why don't I just show you your lab really fast? And the first, you go down to the task. Here's some introductory information, some hints, some rah-rah to help you find what you're looking for. And then you're going to have a slide. Now, in this case, we're going to look at the kidney. And in our kidney slides, you should be able to find all of these different tissue types. Simple squamous epithelium. You should be able to find simple cuboidal epithelium, and we should be able to find transitional epithelium, and we should be able to find that all in one slide. Now, the specific structures that you're going to identify when you find those things, you're going to find the nuclei and be able to identify them. If I have a pointer pointing to a nucleus, you should be able to tell me that's a nucleus of a simple squamous epithelial cell. And you also should be able to identify where the basement membrane is located on all of them. Basement membrane is pretty straightforward. You find the lumen, and then the basement membrane is on the other side of the lumen. It's not on the luminal edge. It's on the other side. And usually our epithelial tissues are really clearly delineated. Like you can see, oh, that's my epithelium, and that must be my basement membrane, because you know where you're looking for it. Okay, so let's go back to our histology guide, and I'm going to show you our first slide that we're going to look at is a kidney slide. And I'm going to walk you through this. We're going to go find the kidney. Find the kidney. Kidney, come to me. And in fact, what I will tell you is that we can go, I think this is the one. I think you can go down to kidney itself, because we have examples of simple cuboidal epithelium in our kidney. And this is what their kidney looks like. Ours is going to look a little bit different. But I'm going to show you an example of where you're going to look for the different kinds of epithelium. First of all, this doesn't even look like a kidney. We don't have very much orienting information here. It's just a chunk out of some part of the kidney. Yours will probably look like a little tiny mouse kidney. Now, in the case of the kidney, you're going to want to zoom in. And we'll just zoom in at a point. And I love the kidney because it's seriously like, this is fantastic. It's so cool. You're going to zoom in to your kidney slide, and you're going to find these little globules. Our point today is to identify tissue types. That's it. We're not identifying structures. So I'm going to tell you right now that this is the glomerulus in the kidney. The glomerulus is a knot of capillaries. And you're going to say, glomerule, huh? That's okay. You don't have to know what the glomerulus is. But I'm going to draw your attention. You'll be able to find these little knots. I'm going to draw your attention to, look, what is that right there? That, my friends, is a space, right? And since we have a space right here, we have epithelium lining the spaces. Let's look on the outer epithelial edge. And in this particular case, does it look thick? Does it look cuboidal? I'll tell you right now, that's a nucleus. That's a nucleus. Does it look cuboidal? Not so much. These are simple squamous epithelial cells, and they line the outer edge of this structure right here. If you look right next to it, really, look right here. What do these cells look like? Here's a space. These spaces are a little messier. I think we could probably find a really nice clean space. This is a nice clean space. Do you see that? And tell me about the shape of those cells. In general, what do they look like? When I show you columnar epithelium, you'll be like, oh, these are not columnar. Look here. Oh, this is, oh, gorgeous. Let's see if we can zoom into that. Is it histology fun? Look at that. Really? That is like a quintessential cuboidal cell, a perfectly little square blocky cell with a lovely, beautiful, big nucleus in it and lining the space. This is an example of simple cuboidal epithelium. That's so nice. Now in our slide, our kidney slide, we'll actually be able to find the transitional epithelium as well. On this guy, they have a section. Here's the simple cuboidal epithelium part. Down at the bottom of this, they have a transitional epithelium, and you can click on it to check it out. Here is their example of transitional epithelium. I believe it is somebody's bladder. You want to find epithelium. Where are you going to look? Well, you're either going to look up here, lining this space, or here, lining this space. I look at this and I think, I like that, like marked. Like it looks like a line of cells lining a space. So I'm going to guess that my epithelium that I want to look at, which in this case is transitional epithelium, I'm going to guess that it's on this end. And in fact, if you look at this, I mean, really, I'm sure that ours are not going to be quite this beautiful. Seriously, look at these things. We're lining a space. Remember how I told you the transitional epithelium was kind of bubbly looking? Like it has these rounded edges. And indeed, you totally can see those nice rounded edges. And look at this. Holy layers, right? I mean, there's multiple layers of this stuff. And so you automatically should be thinking, well, it looks stratified to me. Here's a couple of hints. We are not going to see stratified cuboidal or stratified columnar tissue. We're not going to look at it. We don't have any examples of that to look at. So if you see something that has kind of rounded, they look kind of cuboidal to me, rounded cuboidal-ish cells, but it's stratified, dude, go with transitional epithelium. That's the best bet because it isn't going to be stratified cuboidal because we don't have any examples of that. That's cool. If we did have examples of that, I guarantee I would be making sure that you could distinguish between stratified cuboidal cells and transitional epithelium. But look at how lovely that is. If we blew up our bladder, stretched it out, filled it with pee-pee, then this thickness, it wouldn't appear as thick. It would appear more simple. We would just see the one layer, and that's a functional significance of this structure. This structure, transitional epithelium, is stretchy, and that enables its function, which is to stretch out so it can hold all the urine, and it won't pop or break a hole in it. Thank goodness. Like I said, you'll see that on the first slide. You good? That's everything that we're going to want to see here. Let's go back to that slide, and let's look for the basement membrane. Basement membrane, take a deep breath, because the basement membrane, sometimes you're going to be like, really? The basement membrane is, yeah, whatever. We'll just zoom out just a tad. What is this? It's the lumen of my space, which means this is the apical part of my cell. This is the apical side of my cell, which means if you had to guess where the basement membrane is, where would you guess that it is? Let's zoom in again. Here's the space lining my lumen, and look, do you see how the tissue changes over here? That's why histology is really cool. The more you get kind of, it's almost like you just said, we'll get comfortable with these different looks, these different appearances, and I can see a line. Do you see that distinction, that separation between this side and the tissue over here, which we know is transitional epithelium, and this side, which I'm telling you is, it's different. That's your basement membrane right here. Is there a line? Well, kind of. Are you going to freak out? Oh, they're here like that. That would be quiz worthy. Like I would put the pointer right there and I would say, name this structure. And you'd be like, dude, what is it even pointing at? So take a deep breath, relax. Say, I know that that's my lumen. Oops, you can't see that. I know that over here is my lumen. I know that this is epithelial tissue. It's a line separating something that looks a little bit different. It must be the basement membrane. Another great one would be, where would you click on the place where you would expect to find the basement membrane? Maybe you can't see it, but where would you expect to find it? And then you should be able to click on this location right here. Good, huh? Isn't that cool? Oh my gosh, I love histology. Sorry about that. Okay, so we made it through one slide, right? Let's look at, okay, I'm not going to walk through the mesentery slide. The mesentery slide, you're going to look for simple squamous epithelium, which is going to look flat. We already saw an example of it in the kidney. You're going to look for it again. Never mind. Did I say I wasn't going to go through it? Look here. Go to this incredible website, and you can actually read through this, and it'll tell you about your simple squamous epithelium. And then this is fantastic. You can actually click on a place where they've zoomed into the exact location where you're going to see it. So you can click on these examples and go, oh, that's what I'm looking for. So spend some time here, and you will get comfortable. The stomach, in the stomach, we're going to look at simple columnar epithelium. Again, it's not, it shouldn't be too difficult to identify our pieces here and our tissue types. Okay, I can't help it. We have to go look at simple columnar epithelium. There it is. Let's go look. Ours is the stomach, but this is the small intestine. No big deal. Doesn't matter. Where are you going to go to look? Where are you going to want to zoom in? Here's a space. There's probably epithelial tissue outside of this tube. But let's go into the lumen of our tubes whenever possible. And let's go in and see if we can identify what kind. Do you see? Here's my space. It's full of mucus. That's cool. But here's my space. How would you identify those cells? Quintessential columnar. There is a cell. Do you see how, look at those nuclei, nice and regular, all in a line. It's really clear that we have one line of cells. Do you see how this is a little bit fuzzy right here? If we could zoom in farther, which we can't, we would actually see that those are little finger-like projections on the surface of the cell. Remember, this is the small intestine. The structure of the cell enables its function. Those little finger-like projections are microvilli that increase the surface area and allow absorption to take place. I don't like histology at all. We're going to see our simple columnar epithelium in a stomach. We're going to see stratified squamous in the esophagus, and I believe we have an example of that here as well. Simple, let's go down here to see some stratified squamous. Look, here's an esophagus. All you have to do is click on the web scope, and voila. Let's take a look at the esophagus. Now look at this. This, I would actually, you know, because of the shape, I would be tending to go this direction to find the lumen, but I would be wrong. This is actually the lumen on this side. No harm, no foul if you want to go check out this side, and then hopefully you'll look at this side and you'll be like, saying a whole bunch of bad words, right? And then don't freak out. Just say those bad words. It's okay. I forgive you. And then go find the right place to look. That's a freaking mess. If you find a mess, you're probably in connective tissue. Go away. Go find someplace else. Let's look. Here's my slide. I can actually click on it. You're on this part. That doesn't look right. Let's go to this part and see if we can find what we're looking for. Space. What kind of tissue were we looking for? Stratified squamous. And I mean, really, can we get any more quintessential? Now, do you see my line where you say, oh, this is definitely a layer of some kind of tissue, and then it changes. There's something else going on here, right? That's cool. You're right. There's something else going on there. Do you remember how we determine, I mean, if you look at this up close, what kind of cells do these look like? I don't know about you, but to me, those look totally cuboidal. They, like, I can see big round nuclei, and I can imagine that there's cell around each of those. Like, I'm thinking totally cuboidal, but do we judge the shape of the cells on the basolateral side of the tissue? We judge the shape of the cells based on the luminal side. Here's the entire layer of epithelial tissue. Is it stratified or simple? Dude, layer, 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 layer. What? So many layers. Stratified. And then we go to the edge, and we look and try to figure out, okay, what is the shape of those cells out there? My friends, it's not hard. Those are flattened little flat flats, which means they're squamous, which means that this right here is a layer of stratified squamous epithelium. Relax. It really is that straightforward. Now, we saw our squamous superficial cells, superficial on the outside edge. Yes, here they are, squamous. We saw, you can see the basal cells. Check it out. Oops. Check it out. These are my basal cells. The basal cells are lining or attached to the basement membrane. I can actually see a line right there. That's my basement membrane. These cells divide like mad and give rise to all these other cells. In the next lecture, we're going to talk about skin. This actually looks a lot like skin. Skin is also made of stratified squamous epithelium, and we're going to be able to take a closer look at that. All right, let's look at, I don't know what I just drew there. Simple columnar. I thought we already looked at simple columnar epithelium. We did in the stomach. Well, we're going to look at another brand of it in the jejunum. We're going to look at goblet cells. I'm telling you right now, goblet cells might be one of the coolest cells on the planet because they make mucus, and mucus is fabulous. So I kind of feel like I want to go show you a goblet cell. But you've got your histology guide, so you can look it up. Goblet cells are really distinctive. They look like little goblets, and they're filled with mucus granules. The microvilli, we actually saw those in the earlier thing, the little feathery pieces in the basement membrane, no problem. Now, the trachea is where we're going to see some pseudostratified columnar epithelium, and these guys actually are lined with cilia. And so let's go see if we can find that. Pseudostratified trachea. Let's go. Now, take a look. I mean, what would you guess? Where would you guess your space lining is? This looks super messy on this side. You can go look there, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to want to be on this edge. And that looks like kind of some mucus in there to protect. Oh, it's so pretty. I don't think our slides are going to look quite this cool, but look at this. Are you kidding me? Does it look stratified? Totally stratified. Here's your basement membrane. Wholly nuclei, but I could take a little whatever pen and I could draw you how each one of these cells actually touches the basement membrane and touches the lumen. And then, really, what are those, you guys? Well, this is in the trachea, and those are cilia. And they are saying, pretty please of sugar on top, don't smoke, because they can't work if you smoke because they get poisoned. And then they don't do their job, which is to basically create a mucus elevator, that holy mucus right here, and it catches all the crap that comes into your lungs, and it like mucus elevates it up to your pharynx where you go, and then you swallow it down to your digestive system where it gets digested and becomes more of you. Fabulous. So, but if you smoke, you will paralyze these poor little guys, which is why you have to cough so much, because you can't get your mucus out because your cilia stopped working. Quit smoking. It's a good solution. Basement membrane, pseudostratified columnar epithelium with cilia on top. I love it. What? That's it? That is so it. And go through those slides. Look at them. Get comfortable. Know that you're going to have to, take some deep breaths. Your slides in the lab itself are not going to look just like that, but this is how you prep for a histology lab. And then you'll know what to look for, and then we'll quiz each other because our slides are what you are going to be tested on. You aren't going to be tested on this beautiful piece of fabulousness because, yeah, I'm not pinning that. You will have an actual slide on your microscope that you're going to look at the end of lab on this day, and you will identify it as pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Okay, last thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about our external brain assignment, and then you are ready to come to class. Let's go.